So I am pleased to see action from the Calgary Board of Education, and I had a very good conversation with the chair of the Catholic School Board this morning. So let's deal with them both. So I'm happy to see the Board of Education taking action, and I'm sure that their next steps will be to work with the Indigenous community to make sure this is done properly, to make sure that the students and faculty and staff go through a process and ceremony to make sure this is right. The other thing that I would suggest is perhaps Riverside School may be a temporary name. And there may be a better way to name the school to acknowledge history. You know, when we renamed the bridge, Reconciliation Bridge was carefully chosen with the Knowledge Keepers, but also there is a giant plaque that explains the history, that explains who it was. We're not about erasing the history, we're about really talking about how we move forward together as a community. And to that note, the Calgary Catholic School Board has been engaged for some time, for several months, in a respectful conversation with Indigenous communities about the right way to move on this. That they are committed to recognizing the role of the faith in residential schools, in the history, in making sure that students are educated for that, and in making sure that they do this the right way. And I know for some folks you might feel a little impatient, like do it now, but at the same time, you do want to get it right, and I was happy to hear that commitment from the Catholic School Board to move forward in a way that gets it right.
You talk about getting it right, but what does it say to you that there's been discussion about changing the name of the school for months, if not years, and then it happens overnight, seemingly?
Well, you know, sometimes we go slow until we go fast. And, you know, it's not about 215 kids. It's been 12 years, 13 years. It's been 13 years since Prime Minister Harper gave his apology for residential schools. I was on a nation in Atlantic Canada that day. The Truth and Reconciliation Commission tells us that we can document 3,000 children who died. There are probably 6,000 or more children who died. So we've known. But it would be churlish to say too little, too late, because it's not too little. And if this heartbreaking revelation for so many, especially for parents, of these 215 children is what it takes for us to spur ourselves to real action, if we can take our sadness and our anger and our reflection and turn it into action, and that action can happen quickly, that's a good thing, because we've been waiting far too long.
How important now is, if the name is being removed, at least from one of the schools right now, how important is it that the name is now removed from the school, but also put into that textbook to make sure it's part of the lesson for these students?
Symbols matter. Symbols are important. And ultimately, we should do the symbolic things. But we should never do only the symbolic things. There's so much more to this. This morning, I had the opportunity to be with virtually a beautiful group of grade 6 students from Nichols School. And many of them were wearing orange. I even forgave the one who was wearing an Oilers shirt. And we had a real conversation about this. And I said, you know, there are folks who say, this is too hard, it's too sad, you're too young to be talking about this. But I asked them, tell me what you think. And tell me what you think about this year and COVID and how you've been treated. And they said what students always say. We've learned that it's okay to be angry. We've learned that it's okay to be sad. We've learned that it is okay to be upset about things not being the way we're used to. But we've also learned to focus on what matters, our family, our friends, our education. And they used a word that kids always use with me. We've learned to be resilient. I didn't know kids knew that word. Kids are resilient. Kids are strong. Kids deserve to know, kids deserve to understand that the world is messy and complicated, and you can love your country and you can love what we stand for, but really recognize that it hasn't always been perfect and it's not perfect today. And so for me, changing the names of the schools is important, it is necessary, It is not sufficient. And in particular, at this moment in history, we are lucky that we have the chance right here, right now, today, to impact the curriculum that these children are taught. It is extremely clear that the proposed curriculum isn't just, it isn't right. It must be changed. And so if your heart was broken this week, if you are educating yourself, if you are teaching your kids, it's also time to take political action. And it's time to reach out to the provincial government and tell them to scrap the curriculum and to start with something more respectful.
Any indications from Calgary making this year's budget grant?
I don't want to speak for them, but what I can tell you is this was not a new conversation for them. They've been engaged in some months in protocol, in trying to figure out the right way to move forward, and they are convening stakeholders as we speak. But they want to take the time to do this right. All right, I better get in there. Oh, en français.
En français, just on the change of the name of Montreal School.
Oui. Pour moi, c'est une chose très importante. Être Louis-Langevin était une figure grande dans l'histoire franco-canadienne. Mais il est aussi une des architectes des écoles résidentielles. Et nous avons changé le nom de le pont au pont de réconciliation. Et pour moi, c'est temps. C'est peut-être c'est un peu tard, mais c'est temps d'écouter la communauté et de faire ce changement.